Hello guys, welcome back to Southern Latitudes. I'm Robin and I garden in East Central Florida, and this is my backyard, which is just a half acre. And so if I can do this stuff, you guys can, most of you can do it too. Some of you might have land, but we didn't. We just bought a 1/4 acre, and then the 1/4 acre lot next to us became available several years later. And so that was about 5-ish years ago, and 5.5 years. And we cleared it, you know, got rid of the palms, left the pines and the palms, and we began developing this wonderful yard. I have approximately 4 different like vegetable gardens, and then I have a food forest all around. Stone fruit kind of this way, other tropical things up this way. But as you can see, let's address the elephant in the room, something completely new and different. And I'm really excited about this because it's sort of like a dream realized. This garden used to grow fabulous, right? But I notice it's not doing as well. Maybe I'm paying a little bit more attention, and I started realizing like my peppers were getting sun scald on them, and other things were, you know, kind of dying a little bit sooner because, you know, I couldn't extend my season because it was so hot. Last year we had an extremely warm April, and it just felt like summer started very early. And that's when the seed got planted that I might want to put a shade cloth in here. We began building the chicken coop in phases. We first put the picket fence down the side, then we started the framework for the coop, and then earlier this year we finished the coop and we got the chickens moved over in February, I believe it was. So that left this framework over here in place. Well, then it made sense, and the dream started, like, actually was partially done on this end, and I was like, okay, we need posts in. So about a month or 2 ago, my son and I put in these posts, and that was in a previous video. And we did not concrete in any of these posts, in case you're wondering. We did concrete in the coop post because we don't want that structure to lift in case of tornadoes or hurricanes, but we also built it a lower profile, so hopefully that wouldn't happen anyhow. But okay, so we had the 4 corner posts. Although I will say this particular corner post, we didn't have the forethought at that time to have 4 square posts, so this one came down, and I'll explain that to you a little bit later in the video. So the last post we had inward was this one, where we have the walkway. You know, if I had been thinking, we would have made the walkway start here, but that's where it was and where it started, and this is where the garden ended, and that's why the picket went there. You know, things happen and kind of evolve, so that's why, you know, it may look, you could say redneck or mix mash. It happens, and, you know, I didn't pay a designer to lay out my yard. It's just me. It's just whatever inspired me at the moment. So with that being said, and I'm not going to rain on my own parade because I'm just really happy. So let me talk you through the steps that we took. I took a lot of B-roll, so you would have, you know, pictures of it being done. Although we didn't really want a camera on us as we did it, because, you know, we didn't know how well it was going to fit. We didn't know if we were going to have to improvise, or we didn't know what obstacles. So we just went ahead and I only videoed things after we had a game plan. So okay, let me get going here. Let me start. So okay, first of all, we gathered all of our supplies, went to Home Depot. We I will tell you right up front that it was about $40 for the 20 by 30 tarp, and cheaper, we just got it off Amazon. Then we went ahead, we already had this green wire in here, but we bought several rows of the uncoated wire. We bought about 7 turnbuckles. We bought these little Tupperware cups. We needed a lot of these eyelets, but that was actually bought previously, and And then we made do with what, you know, little leftover parts that we had. But I think we had plenty enough of everything, and even leftovers, which was fine with us because you never know what the next project is going to be. So even though, okay, let me back up a second. I almost went too far. So right here, you'll see that we had the little black tie downs, and we kept hitting roots, especially, I mean, we tried like 4 different spots in here. We kept hitting roots. So we ended up, we used to be campers, tent campers, so we already had these orange spikes, and they worked really well. At first he had one, but then we had to add one later, just because this corner post was really important to hold into place, and I think the sand was the loosest here. These other posts down here had the support with being already anchored in to the other 4x4s. So, you know, they had that benefit there. So anyhow, as we gathered our supplies, we got about $100 more in supplies. So altogether, I would say this project cost us about $140 minus the wood. Add that in according to your area. And so we started first. How did we start? First, we started with putting an anchor in here. We didn't tighten it down completely, but we did make sure the post was level and all that at that time. I'm not sure. It might have a slight lean to it now. But we got that in first, and then we went ahead and we started our crossing. The only way to really support all this shade cloth was either put a post in like a tent, or cross this in, or you know, add in more framework, which we didn't want to do. We want this easily to come off easily during hurricanes. We want it to be very flexible with wind. We didn't want to put a post right in the middle of a garden. So the best way to solve that was with this crossing of wires. Now I just noticed that this wire seems to be holding up more than the other wire, but they do support through the center here. And so we got our crisscrossing done, and then we started with the edges, and we wanted to have support, of course, on the south side, because we knew we were going to drape on over here. And then we went down this side. We got this one. Now this one is kind of, I don't know if you can tell, it has a little bit of a arc in it from where the shade cloth was stretched. So unfortunately, it does give these guys a little bit, maybe hour or two of afternoon sun. But for the most part, they're protected from the south sun. You see how that would look, you know, as the sun travels through the sky. They would be pretty well protected a good portion of the day. And then Jack went ahead and put in this long cable, and we gave it support with the middle 4x4 beam as well. And we still haven't finished our trellis. We still haven't finished our tunnel yet. That's next, I believe. So anyhow, he put the cable here. So then we didn't know, what should we do for here? And I said, well, you have to put some sort of support in. I knew that, and he agreed. And so we even though it's not a perfect rectangle, this garden probably is not a perfect rectangle anyhow, but we went ahead and ran a cable from this post to there, and then we anchored it down into here. And Jack did a wonderful job of thinking that through. I was just happy to have the first anchoring here, but then it made more sense to keep the slack out of the shade cloth and prevent it from just becoming a big kite. He went ahead and put 3 more anchors. I forgot. We did put that one there. And you know, my initial thought was, oh no, the bees can't, you know, find their way out, but it's completely open on this side for the bees to come and go. They're smart, they'll figure it out. There's open on 3 sides. The only side that's covered is the south side. Salsa garden is 22.5 feet by 20.5 feet depth wise. And so with the 20 by 30 thing, shade cloth, it ended up working beautifully as far as from this side to the back side, from front to back. But you know, I knew going into it as I purchased it, it was either a 20 by 20 or 20 by 30. And we were discussing before we actually laid this, that maybe the 20 by 20 would have been good. But then I don't have any regrets about covering the whole south side with shade cloth, because it's just truly going to cook everything on the outer edges anyhow if I were to leave this just a 20 by 20 shade cloth. So this way it just really protects everything from that southern sun. And it's going to get really hot. I'm surprised. Well, by the end of this week I think we're going to 90, so I'm surprised it isn't here already. But that really works for me. And in the end we bought all sorts of different little stakes, not knowing what we would need and what we might have to return. But we got these little silver tent stakes. The stake itself goes all the way through the ground, but then it has those little catch points for rope. But instead we rolled the bottom. I think we still had like a good 1.5 feet left. So we rolled that, and then the little, where the rope goes is kind of just holding that in place. And I think we have about 7 of those down this 20-foot side. And the broccoli's kind of pushing out on it. But hey, you know, it is what it is. It's definitely considerably cooler in here as well. I noticed it immediately when we put it up, because some of it we had full sun and sometimes we had shade. But when that sun popped out, you could go in here and boy, it was so much cooler. So I think this is really going to help extend the life of my garden. Now, I don't think I'll put anything like this in house garden, because you can see that from the back window, and I don't. As nice as this is for gardening extension and stuff like that, I don't really want to see it from my kitchen. And one of our other long-term goals is to eventually redo our whole porch and put in an outdoor kitchen. And we're gonna have to pull stuff off, put in concrete, and you know, it's a real big project, so we'll have to save for that. And I don't want this kind of look outside that. It's gonna be very functional for me like this right here. And then north and south gardens, which lie beyond this gate, they have a lot of shade from the oaks, so I'm okay there, and we'll never have to cover those, and the neighbors will never have to know that this exists outside here in the backyard. So anyhow, I just wanted to show you all this, put a little video together. I'm not necessarily saying this is how to do it the best way. I know there's probably 1,000 ways to do this. And everything's going to be very variable based upon your yard and your dimensions and maybe your sun strength. You know, I don't know if you have tornadoes where you are or just hurricanes. We mostly face just hurricanes. But, you know, in a hurry, if he's at work having to deal with airplanes on a ramp for a hurricane, you know, or he has to go in early, sometimes he gets like emergency duty, you know, then I can just come here, snap all the zip ties and be done with this, and roll it up and protect it, let a hurricane pass, and then reinstall it. Just, you know, all it would take is a new bag of zip ties. So I think that's pretty, works very well for us. I can totally see some sort of protective cloth in here for a greenhouse in the winter. I don't know. I haven't brought that up or processed that thought thoroughly, but you know, it's a thought. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this helpful and interesting, and maybe inspirational. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.